is 1982, 1992. Different era. Different.
That's funny.
Different level of talent.
You know what? Speaking of different time, take yourself back to the early 80s. Explain the process of going to a DJ gig for the night. You know, even going to what record you're picking out, how many times you're setting up, you're breaking down, all that stuff.
You talking about when I was doing my thing, and I started doing my thing in 1977. Most of y'all wasn't born, and most of y'all parents was just born. Okay, 1977, I started doing this shit. All right. If you ever see the movie, what's the movie with Martin, House Party? Imagine Lonzo is the DJ. I'm Martin with a little old hatchback, stuffing all my records and turntables into a little hatchback. And unlike Martin, I couldn't put nobody else in my damn car with me. You couldn't go with me nowhere. You had to meet me. All right, because I got turntables, I got speaker, I got my boy Wayne speaker in the front seat. One of them, I'm driving like this, okay? I'm driving like this at the gig. Gig wasn't that far; it was only around the corner from the house, but still, I had 4 or 5 crates of records. I got a big ass Yamaha EM150 mixer because I didn't have no DJ. There were no DJ mixers out yet. There were no DJ mixers out when I first started doing this. You had to use a band mixer. Plug your turntables into a band mixer about this big. And this heavy as hell because it's powered. Now I got these big ass speakers. These some bitches is heavy. Okay? Everything was heavy back in the day. Everything was heavy. No light shit. The records was heavy. Turntables was heavy. The speakers was hella heavy. The mixer was heavy. Everything was heavy. And I finally got out of, I had a Vega. Chevrolet Vega. That was my car. Vega was like a mini Camaro. I mean a mini Camaro. And it wasn't until later on I got a van. And when I put my stuff in my den, it took up most of my den. Okay. When I started getting busy and DJing, when I would unload my truck, if I just threw it in the den, it would take up most of my den. And I realized doing a mobile party was like moving a 1-bedroom apartment 4 times in one night. Yes, right. Disco Lonzo, Willie Mo. You know how it go. To do a mobile back then, you had to have at least 8 to 10 crates of records because you're playing 12 inches most of the time. You got 8 to 10 crates and you're playing doubles. Okay. You got BGW. you got BGW amps, which weigh about 60 pounds a piece. You got at least 2 of them if you're running running 4 speakers, plus your EQ and your crossover. You got heavy ass consoles. We didn't have individual cases. We call them coffins back then. It was a one long ass case with two turntables and your mixer built into it. Okay. I brought lights and what no LEDs back then, baby. We was using the same shit. I was using the same shit for mobiles as they was using in the theaters. Okay. This shit was steel and iron. Okay. For real. All right. If you hung a mirror ball, you had to, man, come on, dude. You might have to borrow a ladder from the janitor to get up and hang the mirror ball up because everybody wanted the mirror ball because that was the hot thing to have. And the lights, even then, when you got through with the gig, you had to wait damn near 20 minutes for them to cool down because they be too damn hot to pick up. I'm doing shows with liquor store lights. Okay, this shit's hot. I could cook chicken on these motherfuckers. Okay, ain't bullshit. You could cook liquor store chicken on these lights. They be so damn hot. Okay, I'm not bullshitting. The halogen lights, them some bitches were hot as hell. You could not touch them with your hand. Most of them had screens over them so that you couldn't touch them, and even the screens would be hella hot. And you leave a gig, and you got to leave at least an hour and a half, 2 hours early to get there and set up because you never knew when there's going to be a problem. Somebody might not put the arm on the turntable, might not lock it down. If the arm slides, you're going to break a needle or bend a needle. You can't have one turntable all night. You got to have 2. You might have to go to Radio Shack. You may have to go to Radio Shack after you set the gig up. And see, cats we didn't have no type of decorum when it came to working with wires. So cats would just snatch wires out the back. Just snatch them out. Just snatch them. And when you start snatching wires, you start breaking wires. You know, you get hurt, you get in a hurry, you tired, it's 2:30 in the morning, you trying to get home, you just start snatching shit. Okay? And especially your roadies, they don't know nothing about grabbing the whole tip of the plug, the wire, pulling it out. They just start snatching the shit. So now you go to plug it back in and it don't work. You got all these wires. You didn't plug the ball. Everything was, none of this shit was pre-plugged. You had to plug it in as you got there, from the mixer to the EQ to the amp, and the crossover to the EQ to the amp to the out to the speakers. And one side ain't working. You got to troubleshoot the whole damn thing. Okay, you got to troubleshoot the whole damn. And most cats didn't know how to troubleshoot. Troubleshooting is reasonable. What's called a reasonable deduction. All you gotta do is pull out one, figure out, and sometimes you gotta take one side out and try the other, but then you figure out what the wire is, and hopefully you got a spare. Oh man, they didn't tell you that sometimes the building only had so many watts, so many watts of power. So if you plug in too much shit on one circuit, it's gonna blow every time you turn the volume up. And you don't know what a breaker is. You sitting there in the dark and blew the whole place out. Don't know what the hell. You done plugged all this shit into one power strip, okay? Plugged it into one wall socket because you don't know nothing about electricity. You don't know nothing about electricity, dude. All you know is all this shit needs some plugs, okay? You plug all this shit into a power strip, run that power strip to a long extension cord to the wall, and then you wonder why the goddamn cord is hot as hell. Cord hot as hell, okay? Dude, I'm telling you, this is some real shit, man. This is real shit. This ain't none of this. Everything we did, it was hot. It was high powered and heavy. Okay, totally, dude. I see cats DJing with backpacks and a laptop, dude. If you didn't have a van back in the day, you couldn't be a DJ. If you didn't have a van back in the day, you couldn't be a DJ. You had to have a van or a pickup truck or knew somebody that had one.
Crazy. That's crazy, dude. You know, before we move on, continue. Rob Duran, who donated earlier, he says, "Did you ever work with Disco Daddy and Captain Rap?"
Nah. Well, I knew Disco Daddy. I still talk to Captain Rap right there. I talked to both of them. I think we might have did one show together because they were in the 80s. We were too. But for some reason, man, we didn't get booked together. I can't recall us getting booked together a lot at all. Most of the time I played with, when we first started playing a lot, it was always me, Egypt, Rudy, Dream Team, Russ Parr, Bobby Jimmy and the Critters, that type of stuff. I don't recall us ever playing with Disco Daddy and them, Kid Frost. We may have, but I can't recall it.
Okay. OG Shags, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, but break it down again, Lonzo. Who came up with the name World Class Wreckin' Crew?
World Class Wreckin' Crew came. We were my original company was Disco Construction. I'm at Alpine Village. I got two roadies hanging with me, Charles and Eric, and their job was to tear down my equipment because I'd be tired as hell. Back then, DJs stood up all night long. Wasn't no sit down DJs. Okay, you've been standing up for 5 hours. You finally get a chance to sit down. You sit on the edge of the stage, and I had two guys help me tear my shit down. And my boy says, "Hey man, if you Disco Construction, who are they? The Wreckin' Crew?" And the shit stuck. I like that, Wreckin' Crew. And then in 1984, when we made our first record, we came out as the Wreckin' Crew. And if you notice, Surgery is Wreckin' Crew, Juice is World Class Wreckin' Crew. And we got a cease and desist letter from a lawyer out of Detroit because he says that there was a group called Wreckin' Crew. And it is. It's a group out of Detroit called the Wreckin' Crew. They were a house band to a label. Very popular cats. About 4 or 5 dudes, did a lot of music, and they were called the Wreckin' Crew. So it's the Olympics in LA in 1984, never forget. And I called my lawyer and said, "Hey man, if I I got records out under the Wrecking Crew, and I kept hearing this phrase: world class swimmer, world class sprinter, world class this, world class that. I said, if I add the phrase world class and messed up the spelling, think we can do something. He said, sure, no problem. That's how you got Wrecking with no G, CRU. And we just threw world class on the front of it. World class Wrecking Crew.